Hey guys, Road Warrior back here. No, I'm continuing on here with my series on the fishing gear and setup and that sort of thing here on Fishing Planet to help out some new players and maybe some players that didn't understand things. I've moved on now to the feeder rods. Kind of first things first. A lot of these feeder rods are all have a quiver tip on them. Basically, with your left analog stick, whether you're on probably PS5 or Xbox, your left joystick is basically you just want to highlight that. Now going from sensitive to less sensitive. And that circle just kind of tells you, the bigger circle tells you what you got set on. I'm going to set that on medium. Also, just kind of as I'm going along here, there's basically four different groups. There's the Creek Pro, Laker Pro, All Around, and then of course the Big Ollie. So these are basically your bottom rods before you unlock, the Brutus and the bottom sniper and that sort of thing. So this is kind of what you're stuck with. Now, if you're not unfamiliar with these, this video is definitely for you. Just kind of going on here, we're looking at just kind of balance your stuff out. That's a 6.5 pound rod. So I got a 6.44 pound reel on it. Xperia Slim 2500 with 7.5 braid. I do have a mono leader. Now that's a 7. And again, these things can get tricky. Just make sure that your leader is strong as your reel or stronger. In this case, the line's a little stronger, but since this is the weakest link, but it's still stronger than your reel, you're just fine on maxing that out, and I'll show you in upcoming clips. Moving on to the Laker Pro 12 foot 12. This one here is a really great rod. You can balance this one out really well. Again, that Bremer that I've spoke highly of in the past, whether it's on a spinning rod, match rod, and now a feeder rod, it's a really great reel. Going on to the 13-pound line. I did put mono leader over the top of this at 14 pounds, just to remember, again, either over or equal to your line weight in your reel. I do have a little closed feeder. Now this here, again, as you guys could watch in the past, now the reason a lot of times I use these is to put a mix in this if I needed to, as well as they don't drift as much as a normal sinker, but that again is totally personal preference. Now moving on to one that's kind of similar but a little smaller. Just so to make sure they're all kind of covered here is the all-around 1210 with 11-pound rod, 11-pound reel. I don't like this one quite as much because the recovery on this is only 27.5 inches compared to the Bremer on the Creek Pro, but just in case you get stuck with this, I wanted to cover it. 12-pound fluoro over the top of it, so it's a pound over. Now again, a 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, but you do have to have a leader on the feeder rod, so that kind of up to you what you want to do there. Um, and then last but not least is the Big Ollie 1310. On top of that, we have the Big River 18 pound 6000, and we got 19-pound braid over the top of it. Again, since you need a leader, I do have a fluorocarbon leader with a little heavier over that, but again, all personal preference. Okay, now one thing that you will note here, just to kind of teach you guys this, is I do have a mix on there, and I'll show you how I did that just in the event that you did not know. So I'm going to go ahead and unequip that now. So you just kind of keep an eyeball on that. Now, one key note, again, on the casting weight on these things, if you look at this, it's 3 ounces to 6 1/5 ounce. So that's how much you can cast, but you got to factor in the bait and all that sort of thing. So again, I'd kind of encourage you to carry several in your thing, but knowing that's about half of its, what it can actually hold, being 3 ounces, that'll work just fine because I'm actually going to put a mix on that one. And then I'll show you an upcoming clip when I catch one. Now again, if you did not know how to do this, this is just for test purposes. All you need to do is, find you an empty spot. And here's what I've kind of put together. Grand fish feeder, 5%. And how to do that is you just come down here. If you want to start with carp rival, simply come over, take it over to 20 wherever you want it. Instead of just throwing like Catfish Destroyer or something like that on, just so you guys, if you did not know, you can mix this just like you would in a spod rod. This will help you save you time later on if you're wanting to experiment with these sort of things. So got that at 5%. Now if you're wanting to go on to the particles, go down with your plus pad and put you some particles on. Same thing here. I'm just going to throw a little bit of hemp corn on it, a little bit of oil pea cake. Got that in there. Now if you wanted to go down to aromas, just put a little bit of corn steep on here. Same thing if you're wanting to think that out. Once you get that done, simply mix it. It does take around 15 seconds, but I'm just for trying to help people out so they didn't understand exactly how you're doing. In other words, you could just put Carp Rival on it, but why not put a little bit of a mix together? Who knows? It may help you, it may not. Again, that's something to experiment with if you did not know. Now simply go back over to your rod now that you've mixed that. Go down, and then all you got to do is equip it. And then once you join in here, now that you've equipped it, now that that's equipped, finally, you see that spinning wheel, that's that loaded on there, no matter what you wanted to mix it with. Now, in an upcoming clip, I'm going to kind of show you the rods in action, and I hope that this helps somebody. Okay, guys, two things. Number one, I'm starting here with the Creek Pro at Emerald, going for a walleye, and that's kind of tough to catch right there at the start. But basically, what I'm doing is clipping that line. Let's say you're using one rod or that sort of thing. It's just something I wanted to kind of teach you that I picked up on from a couple other players in the game as I've started my channel. Now, what I'm doing is, if you see the 136 down there in the bottom, I've got the line clipped, and that's basically going to let you know that there's a fish on. Then you can set your line. So what you're looking for is, let's say you clipped your line at 100 feet. You're going to see that going out. Now that there is the Laker Pro. Pulled that in just fine. That was maxed out as well. Now moving on to the all around, the other feeder rods. As you can see, that maxed out just fine. Again, if you guys are not able to get a bottom rod, this is where the stuff will really come in handy. And again, just kind of keynote on the upcoming clip, L1, R1, L2, R2, depending on how your controller's set up, that's kind of how you're wanting to clip your line. Now, obviously, you don't have to clip it if you're just setting it down in a rod stand or that sort of thing, but this is kind of what you're stuck with, until you unlock the bottom sniper and the Brutus and that sort of thing. So you can still give these things a chance and do okay with them. Again, you're not wanting to tackle the gigantic fish with these things, guys. But in the upcoming clip, I'll show you where I've actually put the mix together and threw it out for some carp. So again, hope you enjoy. Also, guys, this was on the Big Ollie, if I didn't mention that. So this is the upper tier of the feeder rods. Basically, this was like a 20-pound setup, but nonetheless, if you need something to get you through and you're running tight on money, I'm sure this will help you guys out. Again, guys, I hope this helped you out. That was a 26-pound trophy carp off of a feeder rod.